Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Ruben Amorim could be transfer listing 5 first-team players. We'll get into what that's all about. Fabrizio Romano delivering the news is certainly around Zirkzee, and I think the writing's on the wall for certain other players as well. We've also got a big boost around Sesko. We'll talk about that straight away, actually. Martinez has trained with the Argentinian team today, and a really good message from one of you about Bruno Fernandes that I want to bring into the show, because it is an 8 o'clock show. It is driven by you. And if there's something you want to get off your chest, this is the place to do it on an 8 o'clock show on the United Stand. For example, I might at some point take umbrage with people saying Man United fans need to calm down. Shut up. Don't tell Man United fans what they need to do. That's the whole point about debate and bloody football. Stop telling us to bloody calm down. If we don't want to calm down and we want to be a bit worried or we want to demand more, we bloody will, all right? We bloody will. Anyway, let's get straight into the news, the topical stuff at the start of the show. I've got my camera sorted as well. I don't know whether anyone noticed that, but the camera is sorted. I've got a new camera now, so it's slightly better than the other one. But lovely stuff. Ryan Salmon, welcome to the Members Club. Love the members. Thank you very much for getting the badge in. Appreciate that. 8 o'clock show plus 12 minutes. Yeah, well, it's fixing my camera. What are you going to do about it? Do you want to show or do you not want to show? You know, calm down. I'm telling people to calm down. You don't need to calm down. Okay, let's start off with Sesko. So as we reported yesterday from Sam C, there was never any fear that this Sesko injury was going to be that bad. And that's sort of been confirmed tonight by James Ducker, Laurie Whitwell and a few others. Sesko will not be on international duty, but Man United are not concerned about a longer term injury. And if you've been watching, the career mode of mine, I've absolutely mastered how to use Sesko, and hopefully Man United can as well. I basically, how many headers did I score? I think I scored 4 headers with Sesko today on my career mode in 4 games. So look, I mean, that's a computer game, but the point is, the positive thing is Sesko isn't out for 2, 3, 8 months. I mean, let's just not pray, but let's just say for a moment, like, I don't know why people aren't celebrating about this. There's something weird going on with Sesko. I think some of our fan base are starting to turn against him. It's almost what I call the Real Madrid fan base problem, but on fast play. We're almost bored of the toy, you know? We're almost bored of a new signing already. And I'm sort of like, we need to stop. Surely we need to stop. I'm telling people what to do again. No, but I think it's my opinion that we need to stop because he's only been here 5 minutes. We're not utilising him properly. He's a young player. He costs a lot of money. And the only thing to do is to back him. It's the obvious thing to do. But I even saw people today that were like, sort of alluding to the fact that they were a little bit, well, you know, whether he's out or in, he's crap. You know, and I'm like, hold on a minute. Our number 1 striker, our £70 million striker, I rounded it up, is going to be back after the international break. If it's his knee, you know, it's November. It wouldn't be out beyond the realms of possibility if it was a bad knee injury, he'd be out for the season. So I think it's great news, absolutely brilliant news. And I think we do need to be excited by the fact that he will be back after the international break very soon. We've got some very winnable games. I'm sure he can score some goals and we can put this, you know, doubt out of our minds and focus on what Sesko basically represents, what we were talking about last night. The jury is still out, but we shouldn't be making our minds up and we shouldn't be making decisions. It can still be really good. And it's the same with Man United's season. The last 2 games have been very frustrating, but there's still opportunities. We've still got some really good games to come. We can still win games. We can still get in the top 4. And it's the same with Sesko. So really good news. And UK Darren says, stop the hate on Sesko, clueless fans. Well, look, get your comments in. But look, I think it's a real positive that Sesko is going to be okay. And look, whether he'll be back for the Everton game, that's 2 weeks tonight. So it's a little bit longer because we don't play Saturday or Sunday. So yeah, look, good positive news. Fantastic positive news. Very pleased about it. But it might not be good news for Joshua Zirkzee because Fabrizio Romano has reported tonight that Manchester United will be holding talks with Zirkzee about his future once they know what the situation is with Sesko. So let me just read it verbatim. So essentially, Man United will hold discussions with Zirkzee and his agents once they know the situation regarding Sesko's injury. And that's from Fabrizio today. And that's sort of where I want to sort of jump in, really, because Joshua Zirkzee has played 82 minutes this season. We have had a possible 990. That doesn't include stoppage time as well, so easily 1,000 minutes, because obviously 11 times 90 is 990 minutes, but we all know that the minutes a player has next to them includes the 4 of injury time, whatever. So there's been a minimum of 1,000 Premier League minutes available, and Joshua Zirkzee has played 82. He only played 8 in the Grimsby game. This is a player that, and we'll talk about Ugarte, and we might talk about Mainoo, but Zirkzee has played 90 minutes in the whole season, including the crap game against Grimsby. This is not a player that is in any way, shape or form wrong to be saying, please, can I leave in January? And Man United might say, well, you know, that Sesko injury has worried us a little bit. No, you can't. To which I would say, I've played 82 minutes in 11 games. And you're telling me, ooh, the Sesko injury's worried you a little bit, so you want me to be around in case it happens again. Go forth and prosper. I ain't sitting around 1 game a week waiting for bloody, you know, fumes. You know, it's not going to happen, is it? So I think that when you look at that situation, and I mentioned this morning on the morning show, I think there's going to be a lot around transfers over the next, well, between now and January, but it'll all start in the international break, because Joshua Zirkzee is a player that's not on international duty. Mainoo's not on international duty. And these players have got big problems. Their careers are stalling. Whether you have sympathy or not, they're stalling. I don't actually think in the case of Zirkzee that it matters how good he is or not either. For all I know, Zirkzee could be bloody brilliant, but I don't think it makes any difference, because we've spent £130 million on Mbeumo and Cunha, and we've spent £70 million on Sesko. So it's tough luck, mate. You might be really, really good, but I didn't buy you. I've bought these 3. So unless anything happens to them, you're not playing anyway. So, you know, I think Amorim will be saying he's on the list, isn't he? You know, he's on the clear out list. I think Amorim will be saying, I don't want to use him, but I don't want to lose him. Which is what I would say. If I was Amorim today, I'd say, I'm not going to use him, but I don't want to lose him, because if I get an injury, I might want to use him. And that's Amorim's situation. Zirkzee will say, well, that's not fair. You know, I've hardly played any football this season. I need to play football. So it's for Wilcox and co to solve by saying, okay, if we let Zirkzee go and we bring you another striker in, are you okay with that? To which Amorim will say, I'm fine with that. Go and get me then. And then the problem is solved. So the only way this gets solved is by letting Zirkzee go and replacing him. Now, whether Man United can do that in January or not, I don't know. But I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation around what Fabrizio Romano said about his agent and the club. Because you can't sit there, and I'm reading some of the chat, you can't sit there and tell me that Zirkzee is in any way, shape or form part of Amorim's plans. It's just not how you treat players. And again, I'll go back to a bloody computer game, but look, when you're playing a computer game, whether it's Football Manager, FC26 or whatever, if you've got a squad of 18 players and you like the players on your bench, or you want to develop the players on your bench, you use them. You will use them. You won't just let them sit there and do nothing. So look, I think that we'll wait and see what happens next with that, but that's very logical. But it gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it, because I did a little bit of research today, and I couldn't believe this. I mean, I don't even know. I tweeted it and left, so I can't. I don't know how much interaction it had. Okay, Ugarte has played 64 minutes in our last 5 Premier League games. Mainoo has played 38 minutes in the last 5 Premier League games, and hasn't played more than 45 in the entire season. So Mainoo in the Premier League has only had 45 minutes in 11 games. and Ugarte has had 64 in the last 5. Nobody can tell me that these players are in his plans. Like, especially when we've got Bruno Fernandes in the midfield, who we'll talk about in a bit. And Casemiro is what? You know, a player that can't play 90 minutes, apparently, because he gets tired. I'm really hoping that Mainoo has a future at Manchester United. But like Revolutionizer says, it's very clear that Ugarte and Mainoo aren't an Amorim type of players. Even though Ugarte previously played for Amorim, they likely both be sold and replaced by the likes of Anderson or Stiller. I think, let me talk about Ugarte, because I think we've spoken about Mainoo so many times. But look, if Ugarte has played less than 70 minutes in the last 5 Premier League games, and he's a £60 million signing in his mid-20s, and we're using a 31-year-old number 10 ahead of him, and we're using Casemiro regularly ahead of him, who is going to be 34 in February. That, I don't care who you are. I don't care whether you're Ollie Murs. That's a big up yours. I don't like your music. It is. It's like the CD that never gets played. You know, whatever the mood, you might listen to different music. But we ain't using Ugarte. You know, he's like Elton John's greatest hits, which actually I would listen to. But you know, what album wouldn't you listen to? I actually would listen to a Best of Girls Aloud as well. Ollie Murs. It's like an Ollie Murs CD. No one's listening to it, and that's what Ugarte's like now. He's just not being used, and the choice of music isn't that great. You know, it's not Definitely Maybe by Oasis. It's not The Second Coming by Stone Roses. We've basically got, you know, Blue, greatest hits, and no, I won't go that far with Bruno, but like, it's the Mainoo thing is slightly different because he's 20 years of age and he's come through the youth setup, and if it doesn't work, we will make money on him. But with Ugarte, he's going to be 25 this season, 24 now. We spent £60 million on him only... When did we buy Ugarte? Yes, it's only his second season, isn't it? Yeah, it's only his second season. And the guy that had him at Sporting doesn't want to use him. So he's on the list. He's on the list. And you know, so that's number 2. He is on the list. He's on that transfer list. It's just when it's going to happen. Because if you have a midfield like ours and you still don't want to use Ugarte, I think you have a huge problem. A huge problem. And I think that I just can't believe how little he gets used. I can't believe there's a way back. And I think we focus too much on Mainoo, Casemiro and Bruno, like Ugarte's going to come good. And I agree with Revolutionizer. When I look at Ugarte, I actually think the big reason Amorim doesn't use him is because he doesn't suit the way he wants to play. And we can all overanalyze what that is. I mean, I think Ugarte is very good at winning the ball back. He's very quick across the ground, but he's not very good at the long pass. He's not very good at the long pass. And he's not particularly good at passing anyway. And I think that Amorim just doesn't want that in his midfield too. So much conversation about Mainoo, so much conversation about Bruno, and I don't see Ugarte finding a way back. I think this is going to be another Anana, another Rasmus, another player that we've spent a lot of money on that we're going to really struggle for years to get that money back. I mean, I see a loan move. I see a loan move next summer. I don't see him wanting to hang around himself as well. I mean, as we said with Zirkzee, these players have got their own responsibilities and ambitions as well. I mean, he's basically lost his place in the Uruguay side. Another Anthony, says Sam. And look, let me bring personal opinion into it. I actually like Ugarte. I'd love it to work out. I like him as a player. I liked it when we went for him. And I think we were desperate for that type of player in our midfield 3. But we don't play like that anymore. We play with a midfield 2, and he doesn't suit the system. He doesn't suit the way that Amorim wants to play. But as I said this morning, the weird thing is who actually signed this off. Apparently, Ineos wanted this deal. Ten Hag didn't. You know, that's why he hung on to McTominay for so long, and he didn't pick him that much at the start. So I'm a bit confused about why we did it. I think it was one of those. Well, Favell wasn't there, was he? But I think it was one of those analytical signings, a little bit like Sesko, where we've gone, this player's really, really good. But somebody just said, why do you like him? I like his tenacity. I like the ability to, you know, get into the tackle, win the ball back. I like that, but I don't think he works in our system. I think in a midfield three, he works because he's got a very specific role, and then the other two have a very... I mean, look, a traditional midfield three... You have a 6, an 8, and a 10. And people think the 6 has got to be Rodri. The 6 isn't always Rodri. The 6 can be somebody who's just tenacious and goes after the ball. The 8 doesn't always have to be box to box and have everything. They can be, you know, the conductor. And the 10 can be very, very different as well. So I do like Ugarte, but I don't think he suits Amorim. And also, it doesn't really matter what I think. And it doesn't really matter what you think. The evidence is there. He's getting no minutes at all. And that's a lack of trust. And you can win the trust back of Amorim. You can do. Casemiro has done it. It can happen. I'm not saying it can't, but it's not like the midfield's doing a bloody good job, is it? Why haven't you won it back already? So I think Ugarte is on the list. Would you consider João Gomez Premier League proven midfielder instead of Stiller? Otherwise, it will take time to adapt and we need to face some scrutiny like Sesko, says Vijay. I don't think Stiller will take time to adapt, Vijay. Obviously, that's your opinion, but Bruno Fernandes came in from Portugal at 24, 25. Didn't need time to adapt. I think when you look at Stiller, he's the sort of profile of player that will go to Bayern Munich or Real Madrid quite comfortably. So I don't think we should be going for Gomez over Stiller. I think Stiller is the top echelon midfielder, and I think he will end up probably not coming to United anyway, but I think he'll end up going somewhere else, and I think we'll have the conversation about that in maybe a year or two about how good he is. PSG are laughing at us, says G-Man. Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, the Lenny Yoro signing was very, very good. Ugarte's only been here 1 year. Somebody said he's been here 2 years. He hasn't. We bought him at the end of the transfer window a year ago. So August a year ago. He's been here about 14 months. He's not been here 2 years. He's been here 14 months. In the context of trying to move him on, his book value is going to be very, very big, and no one's going to bloody play it. I mean, how much would somebody come in and play for Ugarte now? Went to PSG, didn't work out. We've took it on, didn't work out. You're not going to get a lot of money for him. It'll be a loan deal. That'll end up being unless he can turn it around. It will be a loan deal. And I'd love him to turn it around, but I think the writing's on the wall. I think Amorim makes it bloody clear that who he trusts and who he doesn't. And, you know, Mazraoui started, didn't he, at the weekend because he likes Mazraoui. But Ugarte and Mainoo getting a start, you've got absolutely no chance. Laughing at the era of football where professionals can't pass, says Keel Robinson. Reese says, Sesko long-term injury could have given Mainoo or Ugarte more minutes, allowing Bruno to sit behind a striker. Won't happen, though. Bruno won't be moved, says Reese. Oh, yeah, I sort of see that. I mean, I said that on the Saturday night show. If Sesko's out injured, it could be an opportunity to put Bruno where Cunha is, Cunha where Sesko is, and play Mainoo, which, you know, actually I wouldn't have minded seeing that. But I don't think he would have done that anyway. I really don't. Do you think the media protects Liverpool, says Rajaf? If United won the league, spent 400 million and are 8th after 11 games, we would be getting destroyed, says Rajaf. I don't give a shit, mate. I think it's really small-minded of United fans to be going, why aren't the media talking about Liverpool? Why aren't the media talking about Liverpool? Because they are the league champions. Because they've been a better team than us for many years. And because, actually, although they're 8th, they are only 2 points off 3rd. So it's not the same as Man United being shit for 10 years, is it? I'm sure if Liverpool keep losing, that will ramp up. But I couldn't give a toss if the media protect Liverpool or not. I don't listen to the media. I don't care if they're media darlings and we're not. I don't want vindication of the media. When we were doing well a couple of weeks ago, certain outlets started kissing our arse a bit, and it was just cringe. It was cringy. It was like, you don't like us, you slag us off all the time, and now, because we're doing well, you're trying to go, oh, Amorim's doing a great job, and you haven't been saying that at all. Been ridiculing him all the time. Emily Derry says, neither party have the luxury of sitting on the situation. Zirkzee for the career and United because we need to use every asset to the max potential. Mainoo and Zirkzee are wasting time sitting on the bench, says Emily Derry. I also think with Zirkzee, Emily, you make a great point because I think we can get our money back on him. Jack Glancy says, of course, Sesko isn't doing great. We still can't create anything. And I don't count Bruno's Hollywood's balls as chance creation. It's chance wasting if he wants Hollywood retire and take an acting class. Wow. Well, you know what, Jack? I saw this today. I want to bring this in, actually. I've looked at this before. And this is just my humble bit of... analysis, but it was posted out again today. Chances created in the Premier League this season. Bruno Fernandes is top, Jack Grealish is second, and Doku is third, with Foden in fourth and Gakpo in fifth. Salah's in sixth. He's having a shit season. So look, I think this chance creation stat always needs scrutiny, and I'll be honest with you, the reason I was late is because I was doing some scrutiny. So I have a system called Y-Scout, which is a subscription service. Very good on deep dive stats. And the great thing about it is that when it tells you chance creation, there is a hyperlink that shows you the actual bit. So, look, Bruno Fernandes has created more chances than Grealish, Foden, Doku, Gakpo. I guarantee he's had more minutes as well. I guarantee he's had more minutes than those players. I don't know what minutes he's had, but I bet he's had more minutes than them because Grealish was definitely not able to play one game. Doku doesn't start all the time. Foden wasn't starting all the time. Gakpo didn't start at the weekend. So he'll have more minutes for a start anyway. But chance creation is such a weird stat. And I looked at some of the chances he's created this season. And obviously one of the chances he created this season was the corner. Very, very good. But a lot of them are in the centre circle, diagonal into Mbeumo. A lot of them is that. It's a long ball in behind to Mbeumo. That's the chance creation. Now, obviously there's nothing wrong with that. We know we're going direct and we know we're going long a lot. But I wouldn't call it a chance creation when you're hitting a long diagonal and then Mbeumo has got to do something with it. I mean, it's not like cutting it back for a tap-in or being in the number 10 role and playing a little dinky pass for a one-on-one. So there is context to chance creation. It's not just, oh, he's amazing at creating chances. Like, a lot of the chances he's creation are like, there's a lot of work for the person who gets the ball to do. It's not like a tap-in. So that's something that I think is always worth working on. But this just also, and I know that some people might take that quite negatively, but they don't listen, so I don't really care. The positive is, if he's creating most of our chances again in the midfield, imagine what he'd do as a fucking number 10. Because he can't tackle, he doesn't track the runners, he's got no positional discipline, he's not particularly quick, and he's costing us in the midfield. So if I've got a player who's playing in my midfield, who creates chances, but doesn't do anything else in the midfield, I'd play him as a fucking number 10. And all that does to me when I see he's top of the chance creation board is go, well, play him as a fucking number 10 then, you know. Play him as a free-rolling number 10, because that's basically what he is. It's funny, I was doing a video, I was looking at something, I was researching something a couple of days ago, and there's a video from 2 years ago about Bruno Fernandes and his suitability for Manchester United, and we were in charge. Ten Hag was in charge, and basically I watched about 5 minutes of it because it was very good. It was me, and basically what I was saying is, and a lot of the comments agreed, was that as a number 10, he's got no discipline. As a number 10, he's always looking for the Hollywood pass. If he had a little bit more discipline and just operated in the number 10 position, he'd be a better player. If sometimes he mixed it up and played the simple pass instead of the Hollywood pass, he'd be a better player. But even then, he'd be top of our chance creation. So he's our best player and he's our worst player. There is so much to Bruno's game that could be better. And I don't think it would make him worse. I think a bit of discipline. But he's a number 10. He's a number 10. He's a number 10. And actually, you know what? You know what I would say as well? Should a pivot midfielder be your number 1 chance creator? Because to me, that's a big red flag. If my centre midfielder is my number one chance creator, that says to me we're hitting a lot of long balls and we're bypassing our attack a lot. So I want him as a number 10. I don't want him in the midfield. I think it's a big problem. Ellie says the camera's a little bit dark. More exposure, please, says Ellie. You know what, Ellie? With the power of this camera, I can probably try it for you. What do you think about that? Is that better or worse? I've just lost focus. Shit. That's focus is gone. There we go. No, it's gone again. There we go. I'm in focus now. Is that better or worse? That's so much better, says NB97. Okay. Okay. It's just, you know, trial and error. You can only ever get it back when it's live anyway. Camera's a little dark. That was from Ellie. Thank you. Well, we've just very well worked. Very, very good super chat. Chido Obi promotion stopped. Mainoo benched. When do we start talking about Amorim's hesitance to invest in academy players? I don't actually care about that. Someone says it's now not great with the background. Oh, if I turn that off. There you go. A little bit darker there with me at the front. I think this is a good point. I don't actually care about this that much. So the whole hindering of Obi or a young player, I don't really care about it. And let me explain my point. We can't chase results and develop young players. He's got the worst win ratio. And look, no one's mentioned win ratio in the last 2 games, have they? You know, every game you don't win, your win ratio gets worse. So if I win 10 out of 10, I've got a 100% win ratio. If I draw my next 5, I don't have a 100% win ratio. Draws bring your win ratio down. So he's got the worst win ratio and he's just drawn 2 games, so it's getting worse. So the reason I say that is it wasn't that long ago where Amorim out was the thing. We need to win games. We need to get into Europe. The football's not great. We're not having loads of possession. We're not creating loads of chances. We're conceding nearly 2 goals a game. Our performances, even when we win, get critiqued quite highly. Who thinks this is an environment to develop young players? It's not. It's not. And so in a way, Araki, I do agree with you. You know, what's happening with Obi, what's happening with Mainoo, where's the youth development? But we can't have our cake and eat it. And I think sometimes that balance around the conversation is really, really important, because I want to see Obi playing for Man United, scoring goals as a teenager. You know, we've seen it with the likes of Ronaldo and Rashford and Rooney over the years, and I want to see it, Greenwood. But we're also chasing results at a time where the manager's been under huge pressure. If you were in that position, would you be using a teenager up front that you don't know anything about just to help their development? Or would you be going, I'm going to use Mason Mount, I'm going to use Casemiro, I'm going to use Bruno? And that's the thing. I don't agree with the conversation about Amorim's lack of youth development, because I just don't think he can focus on that at the moment. You see Arteta bringing on Dowman at 15. That would be great if Man United could do that, but look at the environment he has. Amorim doesn't even have a starting 11 yet. So it is. I said this in the summer. Obi should have been loaned out. There would have been plenty of championship clubs that would have took him. It's a 46-game season. He would get game time. He would get minutes, because in the championship, they don't have the squads. So even if he went in there as a support striker, he'd still be getting 20 minutes a week, you know, a game, because that's what would happen. We should have loaned Obi out, is my opinion. But I don't think he should be anywhere near the first team, because results are too important. And I think that's sometimes when sometimes Yoro gets taken out. and Yoro is generational player that Real Madrid wanted, and he gets taken out sometimes. So I think with that one, I think you've got to be a little bit realistic about it. I'm excited for Sesko's future. He just needs games and to play for his strengths, says Nick P. Timo Werner was given an age and couldn't hit a barn door. Is it just me or Sesko looks like he runs in porridge, says Evan Whelan. And we need to play to Sesko's strengths, says Keel. Thank you very much for that. Who are the other 3 players that he's going to transfer list? Well, look, Zirkzee and Ugarte, I think, won't be here next September. I'm not talking about January, by the way. I mean, one of them might go in January, but I'm talking about these players are clearly not part of his plans. So I think, personally, as I said, Zirkzee, Ugarte. I think Mainoo at the moment has to be one in there, as much as I hate to say it. I mean, what did I say? He's had 45 minutes. 45? That can't be right. That can't be right. I need to check this. This just cannot be right. Mainoo can't have had 45 minutes this season. I mean, it can't be true. It can't be true. I'm waiting for it to load up now. I'm just going to check this. He can't have had 45 minutes this season. Absolutely not. Here it is. So, no, he's had 138. He's had 138 minutes. I know what it is. I know what it is. He's had 138 minutes, but he's never played more than half a game. So 45 minutes against Burnley is the most he's played in a game. He played 28 minutes against Man City, 3 minutes against Chelsea, 24 minutes against Brentford, 13 minutes against Sunderland, 5 minutes against Liverpool, 20 minutes against Brighton. Didn't get used against Forest, didn't get used against Fulham, didn't get used against Arsenal. So he's had about 130 minutes in the Premier League, but he's never played more than 45 minutes, more than half a game. I mean, come on. He's got to be... He's not part of the plans, is he? He's not part of the plans. So he'd be number 3. Number 4, I think... trying to think that there are obvious ones, of course, but actually surplus to requirements. Well, you tell me. I mean, I would have different players. I would have different players. Of course I would. I don't think Bruno and Casemiro are on there, I don't necessarily think that they are. I mean, those were the 2 that were sort of going to be part of the conversation, but I don't think they are. I don't think they are. I think Mason Mount might be on it, to be honest with you. I think that might surprise people, but I think there's a problem with Mason Mount. I think the last 3 games where he's hardly played but been on the bench, I think he's actually had an injury problem. I think, Amorim was using him quite a lot. And I think... I do think Maguire as well. I don't think they'll renew. I just have this feeling they won't renew. But Casemiro, I don't think will get renewed either. So you could say 5 or 6. But the 3 that are in trouble, Delo won't be there. Delo won't be on that list of Amorim's. But I definitely think that Zirkzee, Ugarte and Mainoo at this point just do not have a future. And the evidence is there based on the lack of minutes in a season where... I know we've had reduced game time, but it's not like people in their position have been doing really well. Casemiro and Bruno have had plenty of bad games. And up front, there's been plenty of bad games, and still they can't get minutes. Ewan Gordon says, we need a conductor. Bruno doesn't do that. Do predictable with the long ball and can't keep it simple. Shows why we can't get more than 50% possession, says Ewan Gordon. I'm going to do a video on that actually this week at some point, but it is shocking the amount of games that we haven't even had 50% possession in. And I'm surprised it's not been picked up. But then again, you look at the league table and the league table doesn't lie either. So maybe it doesn't matter as we walk through this Stoke City era of directness. For the most part, young talent shouldn't play as much as experienced older players. Otherwise, you could end up with a burnt out player, says Ramazan. I think when you look at the class of 92, Ryan Giggs, obviously started playing before them. Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood. There's plenty of young players that have been Wayne Rooney, Cristiano Ronaldo. When you're good enough, you're old enough. And that's something that's always been the case at Manchester United. So we shouldn't be saying, well, you're young, you've got to wait. If you're good enough, you're old enough. And it goes beyond Man United as well. But I just think at the moment, Amorim's made it very, very clear that in the big, he wants to get results and he's going to pick players that will get him results. Mojo, thanks for your super chat. You're a legend, pal. John United says, it feels like we are always trying to push young players too early. They show some talent but end up falling off because they're not ready. And honestly, as a team, we're not ready for them either. We need to loan them. And I think, exactly. I mentioned this morning, Ahmad's, Rangers, Sunderland. Now he's a first-team regular for Manchester United. We need to start following our own blueprint, in a sense. Kia says, I can't think of any striker in the world that could succeed at United. We just don't play for the striker. Every striker that leaves United starts scoring, says Kia. I saw somebody say the other day, and I can't remember who it was. They basically said, Cunha and Mbeumo are getting plenty of chances to score because we are looking to get them in. But we're not... The striker may as well be another bloody midfielder. Like, we may as... It was weird. I'm paraphrasing it, but it basically was... We'd be better off not playing Sesko, putting another midfielder in the midfielder, and just supplying Cunha and Mbeumo, which is what we're doing anyway, because we're not supplying Sesko. And I thought, I'd have to scrutinise that more, but I sort of get what they're saying. It's like Mbeumo and Cunha, we've sort of figured out, especially Mbeumo, how to supply them, but we're not actually using Sesko in the way. Well, we're not using the striker, are we? We don't play. You look at Erling Haaland at Man City. Everything is about trying to get him in all the time, early crosses. They're focused on Erling Haaland. That's what they want to do. And I think the point is, the way we're playing, as I say, Bruno's always looking for Mbeumo. Always. And it's not even out wide for him to cross it in. He's looking at there's a ball that Bruno likes to hit. He's in the centre. I can picture it. And I don't even know what games it's happened in. Bruno likes this ball. He gets the ball from Delo or Dorgu centrally. The midfield stand off him because they're not pressing. He's in the centre circle. And Mbeumo makes the run. And it's in this space between the left back and the left centre back towards the far end of the penalty spot, and that ball. Now, if Mbeumo gets on the end of that ball, he's shooting. So, I think we're really good at servicing Mbeumo. I think we're getting better at servicing Cunha, but we're not servicing the striker. We don't even play in a way. How do we service Sesko? Here's a question for you. When you've watched United this season, what are we actually doing, pattern to play wise, to get Sesko in? Or is he just there to create space for others, to compete for the long ball? Because, as I say, I watch Man City and I see what they're doing to try and get him in. Channel balls, crosses, etc. I think Sesko's has a role in the team, but I don't think his role is necessarily to score goals, which is weird. Because we're not. I don't think we're looking at servicing him. I think he's a great option for a long ball, but I think a lot of our game is focused on getting Mbeumo in. And there's nothing wrong with that if you get top 5, but I think the reason I say it is we might be scrutinising Sesko in the wrong way. Like, the media will be thick about it, but we might be. And look, obviously against Spurs, he got serviced in the second half as a substitute. You can't argue with that. He probably should have scored. But in general, I don't think that's what we're doing. I think he's more of a hold-up striker, like Polo United says. I think he's there to support the wider options of trying to get Mbeumo and Cunha in. I can't think... Kia, thank you very much for that. Yoro missed one game after Bruno's comments and had his worst performance when he returned. Imagine Zirkzee, Mainoo and Ugarte sitting out for weeks, says the Red Stand. I think this is becoming a problem. I mean, I refuse to get into the conversation about Mazraoui at the weekend. I mean, it's strange how people don't give any leeway to lack of game time. Mazraoui did look rustier than a bike that's been left out all winter. But it's completely and utterly explainable. And there were people going, Mazraoui's shit. And you think, he's actually been one of the most consistent players we've ever bought, and he's only been here a year. He hasn't played for a few weeks, and he had a mediocre half against Spurs. And people were saying he's shit. And I'm like, he hasn't played. I remember Wayne Rooney at Man United, right? Every time he got injured, you'd go, oh, for fuck's sake. Because Wayne Rooney's physique was like, when he was on it, he was unstoppable. But every time, and if people are old enough, you'll know what I'm about to say. Every time he got injured and was out for longer than 2 weeks, you always knew it wasn't just how long he was injured, it was how long it would take him to get match sharpness. He was one of the worst players to come back from an injury because he went from being super fit to unfit very quickly if he didn't play games. And Rooney would take a bit of time to get back, 2 or 3 games before he'd get anywhere near that sharpness back. We don't appreciate that anymore. Mazraoui comes back after not playing for a while, plays 45 minutes. Didn't play bad, just was pretty mediocre. Oh, he's shit. And you're like, we've lost the ability to understand these are human beings who, when they're not getting game time, they're going to need time to get back. It's one of the big things I said about Arsenal with Ugarte and how the press were going after him. And now, well, he's gone and got injured again, hasn't he? But, that Burnley game, before he got injured, that first 45 minutes, he looked absolutely incredible. So, yeah, the match sharpness thing, you're absolutely spot on about Red Stand. And Mainoo will suffer from this. And Zirkzee will suffer from this. And Ugarte will suffer from this. Because when you're getting, like, half an hour a month, that's what it sort of had. When you take the minutes of Zirkzee, Mainoo and Ugarte, they're averaging about half an hour of football a month. What? Half an hour of competitive football a month is what Zirkzee, Mainoo and Ugarte are averaging. And when they get on the pitch, people are going, well, he ain't better than Casemiro. He ain't better than Sesko. And then you look at Casemiro and he's probably having 4 games a month. And Sesko. So this is what we're talking about. I believe Mainoo specifically can be a good player for Man United. But all I ever see is he comes on for 20 minutes and people go, he was shit. He was too slow. He's not the player we think he is. And I go, he's had half an hour this month. You want him to come on and play prime Mainoo like he's been playing for the last month. If you want these players to be future Man United players, you cannot be judging them on 45 minutes or half an hour when that's all they get in a month. You would have to go, I'm going to start him and give him 3 or 4 games in a row. And this is what some of us are saying. It's like banging your head against the wall because some people are like, Mainoo's shit. He's too slow. He's crap. Every time he comes on, he's crap. Proved my point. But you haven't proved your point because even the Grimsby game where he didn't play particularly well, that was his first bloody start of the season. And I think he got hooked at half-time, didn't he? Or he came on in the second half. I can't remember. But they're not match sharp. These players are just not match sharp. Mark, your Richarlison reaction is priceless, as Eddie Mac. I haven't seen it anywhere. Is it out? I'm happy to watch it, but I haven't seen it anywhere. Emily Derry, thanks very much for your super chat, says, on the 2 p.m. show, Casemiro was being discussed. He's been our best midfielder, but the bar isn't that high. We have 2 players in the midfield who don't really want the ball to control the game. Oh, the Casemiro loving makes me laugh. I saw a post today where he'd made 22 tackles or something, and everyone's like, oh, my goat. And I'm like, he's 34 in February. He might be a goat, but he's a bloody old goat, and there's no future in it. So, I'm sorry, we're meant to be building a future. I mean, are we next week FC, or are we 3 years in the future FC? Because I get confused. So, Casemiro is one of the greatest holding midfielders of our generation. But he's 34 in February, and he's out of contract in the summer. So, is he the best we've got? Probably. Is it the future? No. Should we be relying on that? No. Why are we using Casemiro? Why is he our number 1 midfielder when we're meant to be building something? That's my question. Whether he's playing well or not, why is he to be glorified and picked? How have we ended up in this situation when we're meant to be building something? Oh, Rome wasn't built in a day. You didn't buy the bricks. Don't tell me Rome wasn't built in a day. You didn't buy the bloody bricks, you twat. You're not building anything, are you? Because you didn't buy a midfielder. So, you know, why is Casemiro at 34 in February to be celebrated as a GOAT? Because he ain't going to be here in a year and he isn't the future. So that's my frustration, because and you know when people tell you to calm down, I'm like, we need to calm down. We don't need to calm down because we've all got our own lanes and we're entitled to talk about it. I thought we were building something. We haven't even touched the midfield, the most important. I can't go down this road. I'm putting the handbrake on. I can't do it. There's just no point. I've said it so many bloody times, and it winds me up every single time. Like, because all you'll get is, at the end of the day, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. And, you know, we're doing a great job. Jason, Omar, Ruben, the other one, Christopher, Favel, lovely. You know, we're doing a great job. But, you know, it's a difficult job. You know, we came in and it was a right mess. You know, we didn't know our arse from an elbow. But you lift the bonnet up and you go, oh my God, you know, we've got stuff to do. But you know, at the end of the day, Rome wasn't built in a day, and you know, fans just need to calm down. Trust us. We know what we're doing. Look at Nice. You know, we know what we're doing. Look at the New Zealand team. Look at the sponsorship of Spurs. We know what we're doing, and you just got to be patient. Calm down. You know. And I go, that's all fine and well if you'd bought a midfielder in the summer in the most. I mean, I would argue this. I will ask you this question. In hindsight, what was the most important signing Man United needed in the summer? And it would be a midfielder. It might not have been everybody's choice at the start of the summer. In fact, I must applaud many of you, because I remember at the start of June, a lot of you were saying, hot take, midfield is the most important signing. And I think at that point, I was like, no, I think a striker is and a goalkeeper. But I might be wrong. I don't remember. I actually don't remember. I might have said a midfielder. I mean, I am very, very, very good at talking about football. I might have said midfielder, but I'm not going to take the credit. I think I said goalkeeper or striker. Midfield would have been there, definitely. But some of you did say midfield. So my big question is always, we didn't fix the most important area, but then we patted ourselves on the back for it. And that's it. Thank you very much, Emily, by the way. Linford's here. We have enough depth in the squad to open and close a game. I'm scared we run out of the steam long term if we don't rotate to change. Building confidence in the entire squad, says Linford. Well, you know what, though? It's a great point, and this is why I love the 8 o'clock shows, especially in the international break, because we can wander off into conversations we can't normally do, because we've got more time to analyse. Let's go back to Brighton. 3-0 up. Substitutes come on. When they happen, we go, ooh, good. We're 3-0 up. These people need minutes. Good substitutions. It goes to 3-2, and Burmo makes it 4-2 in stoppage time. One of the first things people say is, fucking hell, the subs were shit. He shouldn't have done that. What did he do that for? He's an idiot. So then against Forest, the following week, in the second half, we're not doing very well. He doesn't make the subs because he's worried that things will go bad. And I don't think he's wrong. I don't think he's wrong. But in fairness, the reason the subs came on against Brighton and didn't do very well is like being asked to go and run a marathon without a warm-up. You know, you're not ready because you haven't had any minutes. You haven't played in the last game. You haven't played in the game before that. You've probably had half an hour in the previous 3 weeks. And then you've got to go on in an intense Premier League game for the last half an hour. And then everyone slags you off and says you're shit. But actually, you're probably cold. You're probably not sharp. You're probably going to get exposed because those Brighton players, because Brighton made subs as well. But I guarantee if you look at the Brighton players and their minutes, they're different to our minutes. So we are slating our players who are coming on as subs, and we're saying we can't use them because they're shit. And I agree. Amorim's now stopped using them because he's worried about what happened against Brighton. So we talk about, we've got a whole week off and we've got a massive squad. But half of that squad's not worth the paper it's written on because they're not match sharp. So suddenly this whole, we've got a great advantage because we've got a whole week off, it's becoming a bit of a problem. Because these subs come on and they're colder than the Titanic's arse. They're cold. They're not match fit. And then you bring them on against the Brightons and the Forests who are, hungry match fit players, and they don't do very well. So Amorim doesn't trust them because he can't use them. I don't know how you solve that problem, but I do because what was it today? We might be heading out to Saudi to do some midweek friendlies. Well, look, it's modern football, people. What are your thoughts on this? I did want to spend a little bit of time talking about this. So what are your thoughts about this? I don't know whether Beth did a poll on it, but I am. Do you agree with the Saudi friendlies? Every part of me knows this is wrong, by the way. Every part of me knows this is a joke, and every part of me knows that Arsenal, Liverpool fans, Newcastle fans, whatever, can take the piss out of us and call us mercenaries because it is 100% mercenary, and we did it at the end of last season anyway. So, of course, it's not right. Of course, it's a shambles. And of course, it's embarrassing and we'll get ridiculed for it. But we are nearly £1 billion in debt. We are trying to find our way to get back. We are not in Europe. And if we're not breaking any rules, are you really going to turn down 10 million quid? And if we go away midweek and then we lose at the weekend, we'll get absolutely piss taken out of us. But I'm not going to be a hypocrite. When this was mentioned a few weeks ago, I was like, look, RB Leipzig are not in Europe. AC Milan are not in Europe. They're doing both those teams doing really well, actually. We could have had a mini-series and played them midweek games in Saudi and made it a little bit more interesting. But as Dale says, we get ridiculed anyway. Who cares? Look, I completely agree. It's not quite the same as let's go and play our game against Everton in New York, but it is a watered down version of that. In season, we're going to go out to Saudi to play for money. I think 30 years ago, this would have left a very bad taste in football fans' mouths. But the way football is heading, I think we've got to do it. We've got to do it. And one positive is we need... I mean, I don't know why we're not doing behind closed doors games either. I don't know how hard it is to do in season, but why aren't we doing some behind closed doors games for these players? I've heard nothing about that. I mentioned it to somebody at United about 3 weeks ago. I said, it's really clear that some of these players are not match fit, and you won't get match fitness from training. You just won't. So why don't United arrange some behind closed doors games? But then I think the question maybe answers itself. Against who? It's not like Coventry City are going to go, yeah, we play 46 games in a season. Let's have a game against Man United. It's hard to find the opposition. But we are desperate for some element of competitive games. Shan says, can we discuss how our set pieces have improved? Says Shan. I find it a bit of a boring topic, but let me just be fair. I think it's a little bit like, well, they couldn't get any worse because we were fucking shit at them. So, it's about bloody time is what I would say. But I think defensively, a lot of it comes down to replacing the goalkeeper, because I don't know whether you ever played football, but when it's a corner, the most valuable person is the person who can use the hands. And I don't think Bienda's very good at corners, and I don't think Anana's very good at corners. So I think having a goalkeeper changes that. Offensively, it has improved. And obviously having people like De Ligt, Maguire and Casemiro who are very good in the air, I think you've got to say that we've obviously put some work into it on the training ground because delivery is obviously better. I've always said about Harry Maguire that I think he's probably one of the best players in the world at winning a header. How he directs it isn't always the best, but, you know, to have a player like that and Casemiro and De Ligt, as we saw at the weekend, I think the ball delivery has improved. Josh says you're a hypocrite. I don't know what I'm a hypocrite for, so I can't come back to that. You said left back, keeper, and striker, says Eddie. I bloody didn't. You pulled that out your arse, Eddie. I didn't say left back. I never would have said left back. I wouldn't have said left back ahead of a striker. I didn't say that. If I did, it's not even that deep, but I wouldn't have said priority 3 is left back, keeper, and striker. I definitely would have said midfielder, keeper, and striker, but I think I wanted a keeper and striker ahead of a midfielder. But I wouldn't have wanted a left back because I like Dorgu. Parker says, we are not in enough tournaments to give everyone minutes to build form, and we have Anana to thank for that, says Parker. Bisson says, I think Sesko is a decoy, and it makes no sense because Zirkzee would do that role better. We went for Ekitike, Gyökeres. We clearly wanted a finisher, says Bisson. Honestly, I think the wing-backs are supposed to be finding Sesko and they're not crossing enough. Also, Cunha and Mbeumo should try and find him more as well, says Ragza Richards. Look, the great thing about Mason Mount when he came on is that he actually found Sesko twice, didn't he? Did Mount set both chances up? And he definitely set one up. Our squad seems to be determined if you're Portuguese or not, or if you speak Portuguese for a lot of our positions. It's mental favouritism, says Reese. Bradley says Sesko's being used. He's just being used as a decoy, says Bradley. Second one to say that. Andre Gomez says, if we are a serious club, we go for Elliot Anderson in the winter. I don't care about the price. It's about getting that top 4 spot. Again, it's a bit like the comment from Iraqi about the young players. And Andre, you do make very good points, and I'm sure people would agree with you. But again, I'm not here to defend Ineos or the Glazers, but I can't demand that. The same way I can't demand Amorim picks young players because I just don't think it's the time. And I also do not think it's possible to get Elliot Anderson out of Nottingham Forest for the money that we have available. I don't think we have more than 50 million available based on what we were willing to offer for Baleba. That won't be enough. We won't have the 80, 90 that's needed to get a player like Anderson out of Forest in January. We won't have that money. The books won't allow it. So we just can't do it. I'm here, lads. Long day, says Rub. Thank you very much. Hope you've had a good day. What do you think about Conor Gallagher? He's only 25. He's Premier League proven, and I'd go for him in January. Him, Cunha and Mbeumo, the characters we need. I'm with you, Scott. We're in the minority. A lot of people really do not want it. 62% of you do want the Saudi friendlies. There we go. I'm with you. We need a conductor. We've done that one as well. Okay, I got sent this by TR, and I wanted to read it out because we've got a little... It's 9:10. We haven't got a lot of time. I was a little bit late, so I'm reading it. This was from... We get messages sent in every now and again. Also, can I ask people... this is really good. This is really important in a way. It's a community homework thing. If you could get Ricky on a lie detector, what questions would you ask him? Football related. So type them into the comments. Not live, I won't remember them. Come back to the video, make a note of it, or after it's finished in a few minutes' time, just write a list and we will use some of them. This is going to be coming soon. So Ricky on a lie detector, what would you ask him? Obviously, I've already said to Beth, like, will Amorim be here in 3 years' time? Does he rate Amorim? You know, the whole point of this is you've got to get questions that are... There's no point saying to Ricky, does he like Bruno? Because you know the answer already. So, Ten Hag or Rangnick, those sort of things are good. Do you really rate Delo? You know, stuff like that. Do you really think Harry Maguire's better than De Ligt? That sort of stuff. Yeah. Does Luke Shaw pay you? I mean, God. You know, maybe. I don't know. So, yeah. Is Luke Shaw your son, says John? Yeah. Yeah. De Ligt just said team gets tired playing 1 time a week. Scared owners will be happy financially with friendlies and not care for Champions League, says Jose. Isaac says, 16 hours on a plane midweek is going to impact the weekend games. It's only a good idea if we win in every weekend afterwards. Fair point. Nick P says, I did say having so much time between games would be an issue, not just cold players. I think Amorim is overthinking match strategy, trying to be too smart with tactical subs and outsmarting the opposition. Here's my thought on this before I go back to what I was going to say about this message from TR. In fact, we might put it off till tomorrow morning. I think we'll leave it till tomorrow morning because it's probably going to be about a 15-minute conversation. So I'd rather finish on this. Because I think tonight you've generated this conversation. And this is what I love about the 8 o'clock shows. We come in with an idea and then one of you comes up with something, and that's the brilliance of this community because that was not on the list. So I think that what we've ended up with tonight is a conversation about why our players like Zirkzee, Ugarte, Mainoo, Mazraoui underperform when they come on because they're cold, because they're getting ridiculously limited minutes. But I also think, as Nick P said, I think we've also uncovered the reason why we're not massively taking advantage of one game a week. And I think that the reason I would explain that is our subs aren't match fit. So when we bring them on, it's actually a weakness. But on top of that, the game is so intense now that even though they're only playing one game a week, the Premier League is very intense. So you play a game, and I think this is where Delit's coming from. You're defending like we did against Forest and Spurs for 90 minutes. It doesn't matter whether you didn't play midweek. It's still hard. It's not like you're there going easy, mine's a pint. It's still hard. The Premier League's never been so intense. So I think, all right, we have the week off, but the 11 players that start still do get tired because it's a Premier League game. And then you can't use your subs because they're not having enough minutes anyway. So it almost becomes a disadvantage. As I said, I'm old enough to remember Brendan Rodgers and Liverpool nearly winning the league, Slippy G, Christian Bull. Then they were killing teams in the first 20 minutes for most of the season, scoring loads of goals, killing teams, one game a week. I don't know whether that works anymore because the Premier League is so intense that you've got to use subs in the second half. You can't just play this. We clearly can't play the same 11 for 90 minutes, even when they play one a week. We saw it against Forest. We saw it against Spurs. In no way, shape or form did our players at 70 minutes look like they could play another 20 minutes. A lot of them look knackered. And that's on one game a week. So you still need your bench, but the bench, because we're only playing one game a week, isn't getting the minutes. So we'll have to see how this develops. I think you've created a good point. We'll have to see how this develops over the season because I think there was this assumption that playing one game a week was going to be an advantage. But I think what we're seeing is the 11 players that play do get tired, so they still need to be subbed. But the subs aren't getting enough minutes, so they're not match fit. Thank you very much, Nick. I think it's a great point. And, oh, I missed this one. Shahin says, to be fair, Brighton goals were both set pieces, not totally the subs' fault, but it's concerning they're not sharp. I think Zirkzee was at fault for one of them. Yeah, I think he was. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Fantastic show. Absolutely enjoyed it. I love these winter breaks. I love these international break shows at 8 o'clock because we can just have these types of conversations. You get rid of a lot of the people who, you know, I don't know how to explain it. Like we get 100,000 watching sometimes on a watch along. We get a steady 50,000 watching on a watch along. We get about 8,000 on an 8 o'clock show. So it's the hardcore. That's what I'm trying to say. The people who, you know, really want to have the deeper conversation. So I always like it. And I didn't even talk tonight about the stuff I wanted to talk about. We'll probably do that tomorrow night now. Got some really good shows to talk about. But I did want to bring in the minutes. And I think it is really important to realise that the Zirkzees, the Mainoos, the Ugartes are averaging half an hour of competitive football a month. I mean, as a professional footballer, which I wasn't, I think back... No, I got that wrong. As a footballer, I think back through my career, and if at any point in that I'd have been playing for a team where I was on the bench and getting half an hour a month, I'd be gone. I'd be like, look, I ain't doing this. This is ridiculous. I don't care about the reasons for it. I'm not doing this. If I'm not good enough to play, I will find somewhere. I'll go down a level to play. But I ain't sitting around for fucking half an hour a month. I'm not training every week for half an hour a month. And I think it's a problem because their sharpness is down as well. Thank you everybody for watching. Make sure you get involved. Do not forget, my career mode was back today, season 2, episode 1. Interesting signings and it was an interesting stream. I'm doing 2 of them this week, Wednesday and Friday. And then Saturday, of course, I've got my all-day stream. I'll do a 10 o'clock morning news show here and then be straight over there. So if you can support that, we're raising money for people with serious illness again. Not serious illness, terminal illness. Yeah, it is. You know, it's one of the biggest streams I do. It is the biggest stream I do because it's the most important one you do. Yeah, it's always an emotional day, but it's always a really important day. And it's one where I think I just love what we've built because you see how powerful it is in, you know, a value that makes a massive difference to people's lives. So Saturday, we were doing it. And the good thing about Saturday is there's quite a bit going on. Like every National League game is being televised at 3 o'clock, so we can keep an eye on that. Seb's going to get involved again like he did last year. He reckons he's going to beat me at Rush, but I'm practicing 6 hours a day, so he's not. I'm going to beat him like 20-0 live on stream, and it'll be a learning curve. Eubank Ben on the night. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that on Saturday, and I hope many of you can join me. Some people try and watch all of it, which I think is great. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. We're back on the morning show with the news and obviously 8 o'clock show tomorrow night. Looking forward to that. Take care. Stay safe. And I'll speak to you all in a bit. Also, next week, make sure you're watching the United Stand from next Monday because we've got some really interesting stuff going on. I'll say no more. Thanks for watching.